Rain fell over Blackthorn Castle the way it always did on the anniversary of the ambush, soft and endless, as if the sky itself remembered what the pack tried to forget. Alpha King Damian Voss walked the long stone corridor beneath the castle alone, his boots echoing against walls older than his family's rule. He did not need a torch. He knew this path with his eyes closed, because he had walked it every year for 3 years, always ending in the same place, always for the same reason: the royal tombs. He stopped in front of the largest sarcophagus, carved with wolves circling a crown, the resting place of his father, the late Alpha King Eric Voss. Damian knelt, the way a son should, though there was little warmth left in the gesture. His father had died 2 years before Ayra vanished, and Damian had grieved him properly then. This visit was never really about his father. It was about the woman he came here to remember beside him, Ayra. His fated mate, gone since the night of his coronation, taken during a chaotic ambush by a rival pack, or so everyone had told him. They found her cloak torn and bloodied near this very hallway. They never found her body. For 3 years, Damian had told himself that not finding a body did not mean she was alive. Wolves who loved her told him it was time to let go. His council told him a king could not rule forever with an empty throne beside him. Damian told them all the same thing. Every time, he would know if she were truly gone. A mate bond did not fade quietly. It would rip itself out of his chest and leave him hollow, and it had not done that. It had only gone silent, muffled, buried, like something wrapped too many layers deep to reach him. He rested his hand against the cold stone of his father's tomb and closed his eyes. "I still hear you sometimes," he whispered, not caring that no one else was near enough to think him mad. "In my dreams, I don't know if that means anything anymore." The hallway answered with silence, the kind that pressed on his ears until it almost hurt. Then it broke. Damian. His whole body went still. That voice. He knew that voice the way he knew his own heartbeat, the way a person knows the sound of rain before they open their eyes in the morning and see it. It was faint, and it trembled, but it was hers. Ayra? His voice cracked on her name, something it had not done in years. He turned in a slow circle, searching the empty corridor, the flickering torches, the silent tombs of kings long dead. No one stood behind him. No one stood anywhere. He told himself it was grief playing tricks, the way it sometimes did at night, when exhaustion blurred the line between memory and imagination. He almost turned to leave. Then the voice came again, closer this time, threading through the stone itself. "Damian, please, it's really me." And then she said something else. 3 words spoken only between mates. Words sealed by the bond itself the night they first met. Words no council member, no spy, no enemy could ever have learned. Words that came from inside his father's tomb. Damian's control shattered. He was on his feet in an instant, both palms pressed to the cold stone lid of the sarcophagus. "Ayra, if that's you, say it again. Say the words again." He did not wait for permission from the ancient laws that forbade disturbing a king's resting place. He called on his wolf strength and pushed again, until the guards who came running at the commotion joined him, until the heavy stone finally groaned aside. Inside was not a coffin. It was a narrow stone stairway, spiraling down into darkness that should not have existed beneath a sealed tomb. His advisor, an older wolf named Halric, who had served 3 generations of Voss kings, grabbed his arm. "My lord, this is forbidden. Whatever lies beneath your father's tomb was sealed by his own hand. We do not know what waits down there." "My mate's voice waits down there," Damian said, and shook off the grip. "Nothing else matters." He went down first, alone, ignoring every protest behind him. The stairway was tight, the air heavy with old magic that pressed against his skin like static before a storm. At the bottom, a small chamber opened up, lit by a faint blue glow that pulsed from a circle carved into the floor. And within that circle, suspended in something that looked like frozen mist, was Ayra. She looked exactly as she had the night she vanished, not a day older. Her eyes were closed, her chest barely rising, as though she had been sleeping standing up for 3 long years. Damian's knees nearly gave out. "Ayra." He pressed both hands to the barrier of magic surrounding her, and this close, he could feel it now, faint but unmistakable. the mate bond stirring after years of forced silence, like a candle flame catching, after being smothered too long. Her eyes opened, slowly, as if waking from the deepest sleep of her life. When she saw him, tears filled her eyes before she could even speak. "You came," she whispered. "I called for so long, I didn't know if you could hear me." "I'm here," he said, voice breaking completely now. "I'm here. I'm here. I'm not leaving again." It took the pack's oldest healer, summoned in a hurry, along with 2 elders skilled in old magic, nearly an hour to understand what they were looking at. The circle beneath Ayra was a stasis spell, ancient and precise, the kind not taught anymore, the kind that required royal blood to cast. Not just any royal blood, Damien's father's blood. The healer would not say it plainly at first, but the elders exchanged looks that told Damien everything before the words came. This was not something done by enemies. This chamber, hidden beneath the old king's own tomb, powered by his own magic, had been built and sealed while Eric Voss still lived. "My father," Damien said slowly, each word feeling like it cost him something, "did this to her." No one answered him. No one needed to. It took 3 more days to safely weaken the stasis spell enough to bring Ayra fully back to strength, and in that time, seated beside her as she rested in the healer's quarters, Damien finally heard the truth from her own lips. She remembered the ambush, remembered fighting, remembered being struck from behind, not by an enemy wolf, but by someone she recognized, someone wearing the colors of Blackthorn itself. She remembered being dragged through the tunnels beneath the castle, remembered his father's voice, calm and cold, explaining that she was not fit to stand beside a king. Not because she lacked strength or loyalty, but because her bloodline came from a smaller, weaker pack with no political value, and Eric Voss had already promised his son's future to a stronger alliance. "He told me it wasn't personal," Ayra said quietly, staring at her hands. "He said kings don't get to choose with their hearts, only their heads." Damien felt something in his chest turn to stone. "He staged your death. He let me grieve you for 3 years. He let me believe I'd lost you to enemies, when it was him the entire time. He said the stasis spell would only need to hold until you accepted another mate," Ayra continued. "After that, he planned to let me go somewhere far from Blackthorn, with enough gold to disappear quietly. He never got the chance. He died before he could finish what he started, and whatever spell he used to hide the chamber just kept working, even after him." Damien sat with that horror for a long moment, and then, slowly, resolve replaced the shock on his face. He's gone. But the ones who helped him build that chamber, who helped him seal it, who let this pack believe you were taken by enemies, they are not gone. Word spread through the pack quickly, the way word always does in a place built on tightly bound loyalty. Some elders, upon hearing that the missing Luna had been found alive beneath the old king's tomb, came forward on their own, terrified and desperate to distance themselves from what had been done. Others said nothing at all, which told Damien just as much. One elder in particular, a stern, calculating wolf named Corvin, who had served as head of the council since before Damien was born, grew unusually quiet in the days following Ayra's rescue. Damien noticed. He had learned, over years of ruling, that silence from someone normally loud with opinions was rarely innocent. He set a trap, quiet and careful. He let it be known, through only a few trusted ears, that Ayra would attend a small private council meeting to formally answer questions about her disappearance, alone, with light guard presence, in the same lower hallway near the tombs where the chamber had been found. It was, of course, a lie, meant only for the ears of someone who could not afford for Ayra to speak freely in front of the full pack. That night, as Ayra walked the corridor with only 2 guards trailing at a distance, shadows moved from a side passage. Corvin stepped into the torchlight, no longer calm, no longer composed, a blade drawn and desperation twisting his features. "You don't understand what you're doing," he said, voice low and urgent. "If the full truth comes out, this council falls. Alliances your father spent decades building will collapse. Packs will turn on each other. I did what I did to protect this kingdom, not destroy it." "You helped bury me alive," Ayra said, backing a step as the guards moved to flank her. There is no protecting anything after that. Corvin lunged, not at her guards, but toward Ayra herself, and in that same instant, Damien, who had been hidden in the shadows the entire time, moved faster than thought. He put himself between them, taking the strike meant for her across his shoulder, the pain sharp and immediate, but his focus never left the man in front of him. "You will not touch her again," Damien said, voice low and shaking with restrained fury. "Not while I still breathe." The guards closed in. Corvin, cornered and out of options, tried to flee toward the tomb chamber itself, perhaps hoping the old magic still lingering there might shield him. Instead, as he crossed into the circle where Ayra had been trapped for 3 years, the last remnants of the stasis spell, unstable and half-broken from the healer's work, surged violently in response to his presence, a final defensive echo of the very magic he had helped create. It did not harm him permanently, but it was enough to hold him in place, trembling and stunned, until the guards reached him. By dawn, Corvin had confessed everything, not out of honor, but out of fear of what worse might come if he did not. 2 more elders were named in his confession. All 3 were stripped of rank and exiled from Blackthorn lands before the sun fully rose. Damien stood before the full pack that evening, Ayra beside him, both of them steady despite the exhaustion in their eyes. He did not soften the truth for anyone. "My father built a lie to protect power he thought mattered more than the bond between mates," he said, his voice carrying across the gathered crowd. "I will not build my reign on the same foundation. You deserve a king who tells you the truth, even when that truth is ugly, even when it comes from within my own family." There were murmurs, some uncertain, some outraged on his behalf, but none who challenged him. A king willing to expose his own father's failure was rarer than one who hid it, and the pack understood the difference. Later that night, long after the crowd had dispersed and the castle had settled into quiet, Damien and Ayra stood once more before the tombs, though this time, the chamber beneath his father's resting place lay empty, its magic finally, fully broken. "I used to come here every year," Damien admitted, "and grieve you, right above where you actually were. I never even knew." Ayra slipped her hand into his. "You heard me anyway. Even through all of it, that has to mean something." "It means everything," he said, turning to face her fully. "I built my whole life around missing you. I'm done missing you now." He pressed his forehead gently to hers, the mate bond between them settling into something steady and whole for the first time in 3 long years, no longer muffled, no longer buried beneath stone and old lies, but open, warm, and entirely theirs. "No crown," Damien whispered, "no bloodline, no throne, will ever come before you again, I swear it." And standing there, in the quiet corridor where grief had once lived, and where truth had finally been set free, Ayra believed him completely.